professional network is vital. A recent LinkedIn study found that 85% of its users found jobs through networking. But staying connected during a pandemic can be challenging. Here to provide tips on how to keep your network alive is Meghan Rothschild, president of Chick Media. Welcome, Meghan.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
I'm glad you're here because there's a new set of networking rules out there. What can we do to maintain these important relationships during this time?
Yeah, this is really challenging, right? Because we can't go out and grab a drink with people necessarily. We're not being able to go to those in-person networking events. So my advice is you can still stay connected without having to necessarily be there in person. One of the first things that I did when this all started was I actually wrote out notes to all of my clients and professional contacts, just a nice handwritten note with my company's logo on it, just to check in on people. And I think even small touches like that really remind people that you're thinking about them. And it also reminds people, hey, I need to call that person because we need to catch up.
Meghan, that's a wonderful idea. As horrible as this pandemic is you can use it as an excuse to reach out.
Yeah, if you haven't seen someone in a while, you haven't talked to someone in a while. I actually have a best friend who lives in Abu Dhabi. So this has been no different for how we remain connected because we're doing things like FaceTime, and we're also chatting via social media. So it's a great excuse to touch base with an old college roommate or a former professional connection, just someone who you haven't spoken with in a while.
So you mentioned the notes, which is a fabulous idea. What other little things can you do to strengthen or even reignite relationships?
Yeah, so I think some of the, I would say most innovative and interesting things that I've seen come out of this is people actually hosting virtual networking events and also virtual cocktail hours. So I've seen some professional organizations and some companies hosting their own little virtual night, a 5 to 6 little happy hour. You sit at home, you get to have your glass of wine at home, but you're still connecting with people virtually via Zoom or Skype or something like that. And I think that's a nice way. Number one, it gives people something to do, right? Because we're in this pandemic and not everybody's comfortable going out with businesses as is. But it's also it's a fun way to reconnect, and you can wear pajama pants while you're doing it, which I love.
That's a win-win. Yeah, keeping it comfortable. Now, it's great if you're a go-getter and you want to host these online networking events, but if you're not into hosting it yourself, how do you find them?
Yeah, so social media does a great job of populating that content for us. So you can actually go onto Facebook and you can click on the events tab on the app, whether it's on your phone or on your computer, and it'll show you events that are happening in your local community, an area that's around where you're located. So some of those events right now might be in person because people are utilizing that feature to launch new products or, serve a new beer if it's a brewery or something like that. But usually there's some virtual events populated in that section as well. So if you're sort of new to this scene, maybe you're not a part of any professional organizations that are doing this, don't be afraid to register for something and give it a try. Most of them are very affordable, or some are even free if you want to test something out.
Meghan, what are your thoughts about taking an untraditional avenues such as volunteer work or book clubs to network?
I love that. I think, that's a sort of you're killing two birds with one stone, right? So you're able to not only network and make professional connections, but it's also a nice way to relax, especially book club. That's a hobby. You can get exposed to some new books that you might have been interested in reading or might never have heard of. So those types of opportunities are good because they help fill the soul from like a friendship and a relaxation aspect as well. But you're also making those contacts that could potentially be beneficial for you in a professional capacity as well.
One last question for you. I know some people are going out a little bit right now. Do you think it's too early to ask someone out for coffee and a talk?
That's a great question. I would say I think you have to be, if you're going to do it, that's fine. But I think you need to be respectful if someone says that they're not comfortable participating. So obviously a lot of our local restaurants and cafes are taking all of the precautions that they need to be. But that doesn't mean that everyone's going to feel comfortable. So if someone recommends a Zoom or a FaceTime to get started, don't be offended by that. Just be respectful of it.
Well, excellent tips, Meghan Rothschild from Chick Media. Thanks so much for joining me today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.